Working on the new project car GTI today. All right, now that we got it somewhat cleaned up and we can actually see what we're doing, let's see why this engine won't start. I can look in the oil cap here and I can see it's milky white, so there is possibly some water getting into it. Let's give it some cranks, see what we got. Let's check this fluid. Do you hear all that? Do you hear that pressure in there? I only cranked it over a little bit. You see the steam coming off? Look at those fumes. It smells like gas. That didn't take us very long, right? So this is what we know. We had pressure in this cap by turning it over just a couple of times. We had massive pressure and fumes. Smells like oil and gas in here. To the cap, we've got some milky water. So what do we do from here? We got to verify this before we presume it's a head gasket, but we're pretty sure, right? Let's pull all these spark plugs out right here and do a leak down test. Be a little taller. Come on, man, don't put auto light in a foreign car. This one has a lot of water on it. This one's really wet. I mean, you would think when a head warps, it's usually in the middle, right? So it's probably going to be these two middle ones. Let's take this one off. Yeah, it's got some water on it, you know. But this one is super wet. Let's get it at least at TDC real quick. All you really need to do a leak down test is a little hose that'll go into the spark plug and that we can plug into our compressor. We're just going to pump some air into it, see where it comes out. Let's see if it'll push it down. I got a lot of pressure. See that bubbling? It's definitely bubbling. Woo! See, now you can really see it, right? If you fill it all the way to the top, like you got a little, like maybe a small leak, you want to fill it to the top so you can see it. So there you have it, blown ahead. Step 1. Step 2, pull ahead. All right, this head's asked to come off. It's time to take this head off. Hopefully I got everything. Okay, yeah, one head. I don't like how clean that is. That means it's sucking water. I don't like the head gasket because it's missing a whole piece right there. So looking at the cylinder block, I can see that it blew the head gasket, and then it looked like they parked the car for a long period of time, and the water sat inside the cylinder and ate a groove in the side of the cylinder wall on both of these. Over on the head, interesting enough, I've never seen this ever before. It actually ate a groove between the two cylinders right here. It looks like what happened was it was leaking water. Once this started happening, it blew out the head gasket all the way to here and started sucking water from here. Probably both of these locations here. Look, I found somebody's 10 millimeter. Well, that is unfortunate. Looks like I'm gonna have to pull this motor. Well, since this block is no good because it has big grooves inside the cylinder walls, so I bought a whole engine and transmission off of a guy who was selling parts off of his wrecked car. The guy said after the accident, it wasn't running. So we want to check it out. We don't want to just drop it in the car. Okay, let's start with a compression check since we have the whole engine and the starter. Low compression all the way across. These two have nothing. Let's just do a leak down test real quick. Let's put some air into these cylinders. I got a lot of air coming out this exhaust. And a little bit coming out the intake. I thought this was going to be a good motor, but we are going to have to pull this head and see what's going on with these exhaust valves. I've never seen every single exhaust valve leaking before. Uh-oh, found a problem. Look at the groove and the groove. The groove is there so that you can take off the head bolts. This one is actually 180 degrees off. It's supposed to be on the other side. Now there's a timing chain right here. So here's my other head. There is a timing chain on the back. So even though this cam is off, and that's why we have like no compression, there is still the issue of these exhaust valves leaking. So I'm still gonna go ahead and continue to pull this head. I see the problem now. Actually, this cam doesn't even move at all. So the chain is totally off. Chain's all bundled up in there. Oh, it's in pieces. Oh boy. So it looks like the chain is broke right here. But worse than that, the tensioner right here is sheared off. So luckily I have some parts. So it's supposed to be, this is the tensioner and this pushes in and out. So tell me, do you think that this would have happened during a front end accident? Tell me what you think. Cylinders look nice. So to test the valves, I'm just going to dump some water down into them. So these two intakes, these two exhausts are leaking. These two exhausts are leaking. So what we found is a lot of these valves are leaking, both the intakes and the exhaust. So you're probably wondering, what do I use to get all the valves out of the cylinder head? I'm actually using a spark plug socket that I cut a groove into right here. I'll just use a wood bar clamp. Pretty dirty. So why weren't they sealing? Well, look at the exhaust valves. They're full of gunk on them. The intake valves, you can see they just have some loose dirt on them. But they're clean on the surface. Okay, so we got the head all cleaned up. These seats all look pretty good to me. The intake valves look good, cleaned up. But the exhaust valves, they got some pretty good pits in them. So I want to do something with these exhaust valves to clean them up. What do I have that I can straighten these valves out with? I've got this mini lathe. So let's put the valve in the chuck, and then I can set this up for 45. I think they came out super nice. And I went ahead and did the intakes as well, since they didn't need that much work. I bet you're wondering if that actually worked. Well, let's test them now that they're in. Let's test these. We'll just pour water in them. Oops, I spilled it. Looks good. The engine is all back together and we're ready to put it in the car. Well, the shop was clean, but